Starting soon. Music.
Bitch.
You're gonna get canceled. People don't say that anymore. It's very on the down and outs, that word.
Okay.
Unless you're calling a man that, and then it's okay. Alright. Ready? Can I get a thumbs up from everyone in the chatters?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another week here in the DCU Experience. This is a special one. We have some breaking news, which is really, really exciting. We've never had breaking news. We're not really breaking it, but it did just happen, and we're going to talk about it, get our live and wild reactions. I've changed the thumbnail to reflect the breaking news. That's how breaking it is, and the title, so hopefully those changes went through. But before we get started, as always, this podcast is sponsored by GamerSupps. If you would like to save 10% on your next order, go to gamersupps.gg/key-issues to save 10%. With me, as always, Crisis, Nick, True. We're going to get right into it, okay? Let's skip the pleasantries. We got a lot to talk about today. We have some breaking news, guys, and I'm going to pull it up on the screen so everybody can see it for themselves. Here it is. Green Arrow himself, Oliver Queen, is in the DCU? What is going on? He's in the Lantern show? Can we get some first reactions from the biggest Green Lantern fan I know, that being true?
Am I the biggest Lantern fan? I mean, Arrow. I mean, you know, I do love the Arrow, and I think it makes perfect sense, right? I mean, it's weird that we never brought it up, I think. Like, you know, Arrow and Hal being longtime friends. It's a strange thing for us to never be like, oh, yeah, this should have been the case. But this makes perfect sense. And if they were hiding the cast till he just randomly leaked it, I think that's cool. I would have kind of wanted just to see it as it showed up in, you know, because it would have been like, oh, wait, this makes sense if he showed up in the show and then, you know, was doing XYZ. But thank you, Mr. for leaking this. So we now have an episode topic. Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Plenty to talk
We had a
about
completely different one before, yeah.
But this is interesting. All right, so Garrett Dillahunt is the guy's name. He was originally playing a guy named William Macon for the Green Lantern series, and he just posted this storyboard and shot of himself from the set of Green Lantern, I would assume. The storyboard that we have on screen is from Seth Adam Art. Crisis did a deep dive right before we started here, and this guy seems official. He does storyboards for movie studios. He does art for DC Comics as well as Marvel Snap. He is an artist that is within this, I guess, sphere of entertainment. So that
he used to be, because if we're leaking, the one's leaking this, he is fired this week, buddy. Yeah, for sure.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, well, I think he's okay. I mean, the actor is the one that posted it, but yeah, he's playing a character called William Macon. Maybe that's an alias for Oliver Queen, or Oliver Queen is undercover. It's in the Green Lantern show. He's wearing like the Green Lantern type of mask, but Oliver Queen / Green Arrow also wears a similar mask to this, and it says Ollie Ollie Oxenfree on the thing, and he's wearing a hood that is also green. I feel like that's meant to evoke Green Arrow. I mean, what do we think of this?
If you look too on the mask, there's the detail. It looks like multiple arrows, like towards the bridge of his nose.
Yeah.
It definitely. I mean, the other possibility that's obvious is maybe he is just another Green Lantern. Obviously, Ollie Oxenfree, Oliver Queen, Ollie. That's his, commonly used nickname. It's probably also worth pointing out that for a lot of shows, the call sheet reflects a period in development where they don't necessarily want an actor or someone trying to act out the character, someone vying for the role, to know who they're playing specifically. We see this a lot of the time as well with like MCU movies or various shows where they'll only give the actors or even potential actors just enough to either confirm to them that they'd be good for the role, So I could easily see, like you said, either William Macon's an alias or it's just some some made up something they put in the call sheet just for it to convey enough for the actor. And it seems like to me this probably is Green Arrow. We were talking a bit, Garrick especially. You're like, man, this guy's old, and
yeah,
obviously if he's a buddy of Hal Jordan, and the prospect that Batman is probably going to have like Damian and Dick and Jason and Tim more than likely. I mean, how old are all these guys going to be? And then Superman is like 30. So I don't know. Maybe if we want to go into that wider conversation off the bat.
Yeah, an older Justice League. Before we get into that, I would like to mention that 2 months ago he did post on Instagram. He's just leaking everything, it seems like. He posted a video of himself getting like a full body cast for a rubberized suit. He says, quote, "Good to see the kind and talented folks at Fractured FX Inc. again for my latest project. You know I love a tight rubber suit every once in a while. This one will fit like a glove." So that seems to indicate that this William Macon character is not necessarily who he seems to be at a surface level. He's going to be wearing some sort of super suit. Now, we're thinking that's Green Arrow based on all this information, but I guess it technically could be a Green Lantern. I want to pass it to the actual biggest Green Lantern fan that I know, Nick. And I'd like to get his opinion on this little crossover here. Do we think it's Oliver Queen? Are you convinced? I'm getting no Nick sound, Nick. no Nick volume.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go.
I thought I muted. My family came in the house. It was very loud,
You're
so
good.
I was like trying to convince them. Sorry, everyone.
You're good.
Technical difficulties. I was making a joke too, so I'll just bypass that. Anyway, long story short, I think all the signs that you guys, we didn't have a lot of time to do a deep dive in research here when this broke. It was just recent. So while you were discussing that, I started looking up Fractured FX to see what types of effects they've done and who they've worked for. And it looks like they've made some absolutely crazy stuff that's out there. Really high-end things. One of the suits that it looks like they did was for Aquaman in the Lost Kingdom. So if he's fitting him for that role, and you have this character of William Macon, who is not, to my knowledge, anybody in the DC universe that I could find. The only reference I could find to him was an old English king or duke, actually. So then I looked through his history as well to see if there was anything peppered in there that might be like an anagram or something. I was on the hunt while you guys were talking about that stuff, and I couldn't find anything that would lead me directly to Oliver Queen, other than the fact that he took the William Macon, the character of William Macon. I believe if you look it up, Crisis is pulling it up right now. I could see his face. He's got his monitor wide open. He's on Wikipedia. Tell me if he took the role of king from a queen, because if he did, that's the only thing I could think of. Is that
now we're
I think he killed a queen to get the title. Anyway, long story short, if Garrett is playing Oliver Queen, I am so incredibly hyped for this because, as you guys have already discussed, Green Lantern and Green Arrow are two characters that throughout the Silver and most of the Copper Age were not very well liked by comic book readers. They had enough stuff to kind of get by, but when they put them together, it was a dynamite series. And I think that kind of grounds their relationship. It gives a bit of perspective to the stuff that, yes, Oliver Queen and Hal Jordan both have legacies in this world existing. They're partners in some aspect, and it's everything that I would want to see as a fan of both of them. And that's my dog. Sorry.
He's a big fan as well, I guess.
Yeah, he's hooting and hollering. Let's go. But this is insane. I feel like we're getting a crazy amount of information here for the Lantern series specifically. Because we've had the first look, we haven't had a trailer or anything, and obviously it's been filming, but I'm just really, really interested to see how this is going to shake out. Is this going to be like a major role within the series, is it going to be like, okay, Oliver Queen is in the show, but he's only in like one episode because he and Hal do have that storied history, and maybe, okay, there's a murder mystery, we're trying to solve it. Who better to talk to than my other vigilante friend who maybe has been on Earth a little bit longer than I have recently, who's been doing this sort of detective work. I gotta think when you're Hal Jordan out in space, you're not necessarily doing like forensic stuff. So maybe he's hooks up here with his good buddy Oliver Queen in the old quiver, and they do some blood analysis or something. But yeah, I'll be really interested to see, is this going to be like a major role? Is it going to be a recurring character within the series, or is he going to show up for like an episode, maybe a couple scenes? It's just mind-blowing that we're getting this information, plus some other information that we got today, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I'm just so excited for this.
I'm definitely guessing it is maybe he shows up for 2 episodes in the middle where he's kind of important, and then they finish off the show with Hal and John. Yeah. But this makes me think, what if this is like to test, do people like this character? Is this like a Daredevil Punisher situation where you give him a section and then, do people really vibe with this character? Well, here's either a movie or a show. We already have everything set up, and we've made, done all the hard work, the suit, the characterization, and now we just need to make a show for him. Is that what they're planning? Right?
Yeah.
I think would be an interesting take on that, to have him expand out, because I doubt we're having a Batman or anything related show, right? So if you want to have a more street level type thing, Arrow would be the obvious decision to go with there, right?
Well, I think the other thing too is, I was going to say the thing that I've seen from behind the scenes is that we'll be honest with ourselves. Like, you're not going to get Jon Stewart's not getting a Power Ring episode 1. It just like they're going to, every show does the same thing. Like, he's not going to start out as Green Lantern. They're going to make him earn it, right? So half the series they're going to be dancing around him getting this ring and getting powers, and I think we've already seen Jon Stewart behind the scenes photos of that actor, like with a gun in like a standoff situation, and in these other different scenarios where he's going to be far more grounded. He's not going to be flying around. Most of this stuff is going to be taking place on Earth, and it could be a possibility that he ends up facing off with Green Arrow, because Green Arrow is still a vigilante. He's a hero. So maybe that's where their paths intertwine or something like that. I'm fully operating off the fact that this dude is playing Green Arrow, and this is confirmed now, because if not, I will be an emotional wreck. I just want to let you guys know that. And it's up to you. It's up to you as co-host to put me back together.
Well, I was going to say, just thinking, I got reminded that we did get a Star City reference in Creature Commandos. Which, I think that not the Green Arrow location, that is Oliver Queen's, like, that's his home, is Star, or is it
Star City? How? No, that's Coast City. Star City is Flash, right?
I just want to I was muted for a second, but I just want to say, don't ever call True the first Green Lantern fan in this podcast again.
I was trying to rile you up a little bit, and it clearly worked. I'm trying to get you on your A game.
It is no. I'm correct. It is Coast City was Hal.
It is.
Star City's Flash.
Yeah.
No, Star City is the base of operations for Green Arrow.
Correct.
So
Central
we
City
have
Central City. Oh man, I watched so much. Yeah, my bad.
So we're an MCU podcast now. Go ahead and change the name.
Well, New York City is where the Thunderbolts will take place. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about any fake, unless we're talking fake countries. The cities are usually the same.
Superman's a big Bloodhaven guy, right?
Yeah. So we have a Green Arrow reference already in essentially the first DCU, piece of media. So it does make a lot of sense that, soon after, we're going to have Superman and then, Lantern, and then it's Peacemaker 2, right? And then Lantern, somewhere around there. Peacemaker, I think they're filming like simultaneously. Like James Gunn is doing Peacemaker, and then Green Arrow is kind of doing its own thing. But so
Lantern.
It's I keep wanting. Arrow is just on the brain.
We're gonna do it the whole episode, I'm sure.
Fuck it, change the name, James. We know what it is now, buddy.
It's the Green Arrow. It's the Green Arrow show. But yeah. So Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense that we would be seeing him so soon. And I do agree with True earlier that the notion of Arrow being in this just kind of flew over our heads because obviously they do have a connection in the comics, and that probably is his most famous comic story is with him and Hal.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
I think the real question is, are we going to get a reference to Speedy doing heroin in this
yeah. I
would
mean,
be-
universe? Because
I think it'd be a really cool thing to do, though, right?
it is like the
he's
one
walking him
thing
through
that
he's
Roy
walking him through
Harper's known for.
the Arrow's base. Walking him through the Arrow base, and he has all the trophies. He's like, "There's the needle." It's right there.
There's the needle Speedy was
My
taking.
ward is a junkie.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe he could be a junkie in this series right now going on. I mean, like I said, it is one of the. It's probably the thing he's most well known for is shooting up. That's like one of the most famous comic book covers of all time, and that's just where Red Arrow has landed. But it'll be interesting to have Green Arrow back because Green Arrow is obviously a character that was very, very much popularized by the television show Arrow, which, love it or hate it, that show was
We loved
incredibly popular. I mean, I definitely loved the first 2 seasons. And
We
like
loved
the
all the
first
seasons on this
half of
podcast.
season 3. I mean, mainly because it was kind of like Batman light, Diet Batman.
Yeah.
Because they
They took
basically
his
ripped off
personality.
yeah, his personality, his stories, his foes, and literally like the whole Lazarus thing with Ra's al Ghul. Like, what are we doing? So it was basically a Batman show. It'll be really interesting to see how Green Arrow is treated here. I feel like Green Arrow is a character that like is custom made for like James Gunn. Like I can't think of a DC
Absolutely.
character that is more James Gunn coded in like at all, that more so than Green Arrow. I mean, he's a very leftist character. James is that
Absolutely.
in real life. He's got the quips. He's very fun loving. He's got a beautiful blonde woman that he's in love with, as does James Gunn. It's the parallels are all there. He can just self-insert himself as Green Arrow. No, but I think it's a character that would do really well in the hands of James Gunn specifically. Obviously, James Gunn's not writing this, but it'll be interesting to see the difference between that version of Green Arrow that we got in the CW, which was very like dark and serious and very over the top with drama that you typically get from the CW, to now what are we going to get in the DCU? Is it going to be similar to that because that's the popular character everyone knows, or is it going to be closer to the cartoon character and the comic book character that previous generations grew up with?
So I have 2 things I want to discuss that kind of stem out of that, since we're fully Green Arrow pilled right now. It's happening.
We've taken the
We
green
get it.
pill, which I don't.
The first and only thing I really worry about is that if you're not a comic reader, like apparently we all proved that we're not earlier with the whole city fiasco, you don't really know what the real Green Arrow is like in comic books. And that's the one that I know, and that's the one that, Garrick used to hound on me for, because I much like him, I enjoyed the first 2 seasons of Arrow, and then after that I was good of not watching it. But it's mostly because I was like, hey, this is basically a Batman show, so I just turned my brain off. So I wonder how many people are going to see, if James does accurately translate Green Arrow to the big and small screen as the Green Arrow that we comic book readers know, I wonder how many people will look at that and go like, this doesn't like from the outside looking in, they'll go, this isn't right. This isn't what I think. And in this like modern hyper political, hyper like, I would say almost like skeptical society that we live in, how many people might, blame him for something like, oh, they flipped this super dark character and now they made him woke, like kind of exactly.
They
And
wokeified
I didn't want to
Arrow.
say it because because Crisis would get mad at me for making the joke, but there is something to be said there that like that's not the real Green Arrow. It's not like Deadpool where there's like basically one version of Deadpool and that's what they made.
Green Arrow is the original woke character. If anybody's gonna be woke, it's gonna be him. Like him and like the X-Men. Like they're the OGs of the woke movement.
He's like the social justice Batman for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're gonna do that to a character, it's got to be Green Arrow.
And then the other topic, then this is kind of maybe a bigger topic for the group, is I love the idea of introducing a well-known character like Green Arrow into the Lantern show because of the fact that I don't know if that character, if we need like a movie or if we need a full Green Arrow show. But I think when you have a high profile character like Green Arrow introduced into a show like this that helps build that world up, you're putting multiple characters that I think most comic book readers like would view Green Lantern or Green Arrow as like, they're not like S tier characters like Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, those characters. They're maybe somewhere between like a low A, upper B tier character where they have a lot of fans, but they're not as well known. So if you mash them together, you give an opportunity for them to have more screen time, build more stuff up, and you don't rest the entire success or failure of a character on if the $200 million movie that you made or $250 million show that you made of 10 episodes is solely focused on them, either flop or pass kind of a thing. So I like the idea of introducing more characters, more high tier characters into this universe that way.
Yeah, it makes it feel a little bit more organic and lived in. Again, I think that is really what we want to see in this kind of stuff. And I mean, Green Arrow and Green Lantern, Hal Jordan and Oliver Queen respectively are friends, so it makes sense for them to meet up in this sort of fashion if that's what's going to happen, what we're thinking might happen. Again, if it's just like a short little cameo that we're gonna get, that's well and good. I just want to make sure that the character remains, I guess, a focus in the universe, and we get something like announced shortly after his appearance that like, hey, we're going to work on a Green Arrow TV show, or we're going to get him an animated thing, or whatever it is. I don't want it to be one of those like, again, we're going to do this all the time just because it's the thing you have to compare it to, but I don't want it to be like an MCU thing where it's like, oh, here's this character and they showed up and this is like their one appearance and that's all they're getting. They haven't done, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that they've done that with other than villains on the level of Green Arrow, like a hero on the level of Green Arrow. Who?
I think that they have some characters.
No, I'm saying MCU.
I think what the MCU does with their characters that's almost just as bad is they leave them on the shelf for years at a time, and you almost forget that they're in the world. Like we got 2 more films before we get to the next Avengers movie, and we haven't seen Shang-Chi in 4 years. Yeah. So it's like he's gonna just show up in the Avengers, and you want that to make sense? That's kind of weird. So to your point, yeah, you gotta. If you want your universe to feel lived in and you want this universe to feel cohesive, you can't do what the MCU does, which is where you have a massive criminal vigilante wave in New York City and Spider-Man is not doing anything. He's not mentioned in the episode of Daredevil Born Again at all. He's just at home eating Chinese takeout. Like, whatever it happens to be, you got to have these characters around. I think if you do it right and you do it smart, and that's kind of been James' forte in the past, is you can put multiple characters in movies and still have one centralized protagonist that gets a lot of emotional and character development while still peppering in enough development on these other characters that you're not afraid to focus on them at a later time.
I don't think it'll be hard to have Green Arrow come in and just be interesting for like an episode and then dip out. Like, I think you'll be able to really easily establish that Hal and Oliver have had a long-standing relationship in a very short amount of time. You can show that, especially if the actors have good chemistry. You can show that history, I think, really quickly, and comic book readers will understand it. You can throw in a couple lines for people that don't necessarily understand it, that they've been like, if he shows up as Oliver Queen, right, or this William guy, whatever whatever it is, and he's talking to Jon Stewart like, all right, this is my guy, he's gonna help us out, you can trust him, whatever. Like, it'll be really easy to distill that information into a single episode, which I think is really exciting. The opportunities are there for sure.
It makes me
writes
think,
itself.
how do you like a character like Green Arrow? You can kind of introduce his core concept pretty quickly, right? It's not something that you need multiple episodes. You just need really efficient writing to establish what he's about, and then kind of his past relationship with with Hal. And I think that's one of the things that I'm kind of looking forward to, because we're getting a lot of, for example, in the Superman movie, it's Superman, and then we're getting a lot of other characters who already have a past history. So it's about how efficient can they write the idea of what Hot Girl is about, or what Metamorpho is about, or something like that, in the time where they feel like they're a relevant character, and I can see what their relationship is with like Hal or with Superman, because most people know, most people will understand the Green Lantern. Guy Gardner is pretty easy to get, but how many people are really going to understand Metamorpho straight off the bat, right? Or someone like Hot Girl, where you might have to do a little bit more work. Where I think Green Arrow is probably pretty easy. He's a guy with an arrow, pretty rich.
He's Batman, but green.
But yeah, and he does seem to have the goatee here. So I mean,
That's the
it might be
important
going
thing.
for the.
That's a very important thing. Let's just get that straight out from the gate. We're not going to earn the goatee like we had to in Arrow. We're we just have it.
He never really got the goatee in Arrow.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
Also,
CW
here's my critique. Here's my goatee level critique. Where's the hat with
Yep,
the feather?
Oh, true.
He's
Why
still
does he
got
have a
the
hood
hood.
on? Wait, this is
take
not
the
New
hood off.
52. We are
Where's
not
the
in
hat
New
off the
52
feather?
anymore.
It's just from like the eyebrows up, though. The hat could be under there.
I'll
I
tell you
want
what.
the hat.
A hat and a
I'll tell you
hood on top of the hat.
Yeah, the hood and the hat.
I'll tell you what. I'm fine with him earning the hat, as long as he has everything else. Maybe he has to earn that
They'll
back.
probably,
like,
Hal will probably say, like, I haven't seen you in a while. Where's the hat?
He makes
Kind of,
a
that
ring
would be great.
construct of the hat on his head.
Puts it on his head.
I would love like the exposition to be something that they could explore at a later time too, because it's really easy to do that kind of a story. Do I think Speedy needs to be a massive character? But you could explain, hey, obviously you have Hal Jordan, you have Jon Stewart. They are semi-reluctantly made partners in this show based off what we're hearing about it. I anticipate that there's going to be a dynamic between them where Hal's like, I haven't had a partner in a while. I haven't had that kind of thing. And then you just explain it away. This guy used to be my partner. Oh, what happened?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Heroin happened. And after that, it was, we didn't.
His secondary partner was doing drugs.
Yeah, it was
our
rough
third
time.
partner. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts or feelings on Green Arrow before we move on? We've been talking about this for quite a while.
I mean,
Sure. I do have one last thing, and it's by just how would you guys feel? Obviously, we all know Green Arrow, Hawkeye, that archetype. He's a marksman. Do we get the boxing glove Arrow in the DC?
Please. If you're
Maybe
gonna go
not
all
this
the way,
show.
why not this show?
I know this one's supposed to be like serious.
He zaps.
Yeah,
he zaps
but
Sinestro
Green
off the sky with a
Lantern,
UFC glove on.
Green Lantern's gonna make fists with his ring.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
So-
Maybe we do the boxing glove Arrow, and then it gets amped by a construct with a fist at the end.
See, now you're
perfect.
thinking with two brains.
Or maybe he puts the fist at the end, and Green Arrow's like, "Oh, that's a good idea. I should do that."
I kind of hope
It's
it's not
so-
like the final shot that they used to beat the main villain of the series, Atrocitus. But
Speaking
so easy
of
for us.
Atrocitus, oh my gosh, what a great transition by True. He's a master of this. We should promote him to host. But we got some news today that Paul Ben Victor, who I'm not super familiar with. I've seen a bunch of stuff that he's in. Seems like he's a character actor for the most part. But Paul Ben Victor, he will be joining the Lantern show. He's playing a character named Antan or Antan, Antaan, however you would like to say that. Anton is what I'm going to go with. That sounds right to me. He is an extraterrestrial, so he's an alien, devoted to exposing the truth and exacting vengeance against those who wronged his people. Consumed by a deep and unrelenting hatred for the law, he is determined to deliver justice on his own terms. So, with that being said, the rumor is, and the vibes are, I guess it's not even really a rumor, it's just that description seems very, very red-pilled or Red Lantern-pilled or Atrocitus coded, if you catch my drift. The character that was wronged by Oa and has an intense hatred, and you could be wielding a Red Lantern. This could be, again, the William Macon situation. We have Anton here. We see this all the time, not just in like the call sheets, which Crisis called out earlier as like, okay, I'm auditioning for a character, I don't know who it is necessarily, so the doors are kept sealed tight and there's no leaks about who and what is going to be in the show, so the fans have some sort of surprise. But also in the MCU, in the DC Extended Universe, in the Fox X-Men, and everything, we have characters taking different names to start out, and then they end up becoming the superhero or supervillain at the end. So this character could be literally Anton, that could be like his alien name, who earns, quote-unquote, the name Atrocitus through these atrocities that he commits throughout the galaxy or the universe or whatever. So that's just the vibes we're getting. Crisis, are you in on the Atrocitus?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he's probably one of the highest caliber Green Lantern villains. There's been word that, we know Sinestro's going to be it. That's confirmed. I don't know if it was confirmed, but I think it's at least speculated that also Black Hand will be in this, which if Black Hand, Sinestro, and Atrocitus, that's very Jeff Johns Green Lantern inspired.
Yeah.
So to see all of those elements coinciding with a John Stewart origin, it's going to be very interesting. And then also a Twilight Years Hal Jordan. A lot of those, it could make for an interesting remix, but it also, I think one of my biggest fears with a lot of these shows and a lot of superhero media as well is, in an attempt to modernize or should I say portray a modern story, they adapt more contemporary comic book arcs, which just so happens to, especially in terms of like a long form cinematic universe, I'm afraid it's going to truncate the history a bit too much, where that's an epic storyline. The Jeff Johns Green Lantern, that could easily be a movie trilogy, and go on for years and have spin-offs. So as far as adding the Atrocitus character in here, I think that's great. He's a great character. He's one of those characters that that Jeff Johns saw an opportunity from this decades old at that point, Alan Moore story about Space Sector 666 and the Blackest Night prophecy. So I think, copying that and adding all that world building, I think is great, especially if you look at what James Gunn is also doing with Superman, where, a lot of these comic elements, they already exist, they're already established. The Guardians sanctioning off that sector is very cool lore. There's a lot they could do there. But I
Wait
think
a
that
second, hold on. I just went fully down the rabbit hole because I remembered something. What's the name of the character that Oliver Queen's actor was supposed to be playing? William Macon?
There's no way.
This other guy's name is Anton, right? What if some of this information's wrong? Because the core of the show is that they described it as there's something that happens on. They're finding a mystery object, right? Something that
like that.
So the biggest William in that Green Lantern universe is Black Hand, William Hand. And he has that divining rod that gives him the ability to. What if that's the thing that they're searching for?
Blackest Night, it could be the big. That could be the big event that they're leading toward.
I'm done.
be.
See ya. Thanks, guys. I've cracked the case.
That could be the big one that they're going for.
What
Obviously,
is
when I
that thing
think
called? The divining rod, cosmic divining something or other.
I know what
don't
you're
remember.
talking about. It's what he uses to take his own life and then become a
Yep.
Black Lantern.
I gotta find it now. I haven't read that
Really?
run in so long, but as soon as you mentioned it, we could all see each other at the same time in the Discord call. But I was like, "Wait a minute, what?" And I like immediately went start looking for it.
Yeah, I could see that. But no, yeah, I think it is a bit of a question though. I mean, are we gonna do this? Is like kind of a Smallville problem where, like with Doomsday, right? He's like some
Yeah.
guy and Doomsday's trapped in him, and then they have a CGI or like they get the big stunt man with all the prosthetics on. Atrocitus is gonna be pretty hard to do in live action, especially if this is supposed to be like they're in like some town or something in in Arizona, what it looks like just some flyover state.
I think if you
So
want
is he going to be a
to,
CGI monster, or is he going to be a guy, he has amnesia, then he turns into a monster, when he remembers
Yeah.
who he is? Like, how are they going to go about it being comic Atrocitus?
and I think you don't want to, as to what Crisis had mentioned before, I think you don't want to pack too much of the Spectrum lore into one season of the show because, you have all these different colors. You have green as willpower, yellow as fear, red as rage, blue as hope, and you have all these different things. The average person might kind of tune out like it's too much. Like if you introduce them over time, you can't just bring like Larfleeze can't just show up and be like everything's mine and like run off like this cosmic leprechaun goblin that he is. Like it has to work. So maybe the casting sheet there. I think you brought this up in our private discussions earlier. Was you said casting sheets have been known to be wrong or to lie, so they don't give away who somebody's playing. So they use different names. It's entirely possible that this guy's playing Black Hand. I mean, he looks like he would be a great Black Hand, and Garrett is playing Oliver Queen. Like those things. Then, if you have a Black Hand in this verse that finds that type of an item, you open the entire rest of the series up to do all the Spectrum War shit, the Blackest Night, Brightest Day, all the things that come after it. And you have, like you had mentioned earlier, Crisis, you have years of content there that potentially just, you can introduce as many lanterns as you want.
I think that's also
or as I want.
Sorry, true. Just real quick, I think that's also like to compare it to the MCU again, because we have to, if you're talking like, okay, we have to get on the level or exceed the level of Infinity War and Endgame, the way to do that is to have this universe build up towards something, and then you have your portals moment, which is just way better in every single way when you give all the heroes lantern rings and everyone just loses their minds, right? Like that is a moment you can imagine in the theater, people just going crazy on levels never before seen. Like you thought the Minecraft chicken jockey was crazy. Wait till you see Batman get a yellow lantern ring and Superman get like a blue lantern ring or whatever,
or all of them turn into Black Lanterns, and then you got a zombie.
You do that
that's
in the next
always
movie.
That's always been what I was hoping for, and I've said
Me
this
too.
probably even before we started, was imagine, because what Marvel is doing is, we're 10 15 years in and they're bringing back people through just nostalgia, through just them coming out of a wormhole. I would love if DC could manage a flip on that, like the reversal, where we're like, oh, this actor, I love this guy. He's back. He's a fucking zombie. He's gonna eat your heart and destroy the universe. Like, because actors love playing villains, and especially actors that have been heroes for so long. Again, to reference Smallville, like Tom Welling, Red Kryptonite, he was Ultraman from a different universe. Like they always jump at the chance to play opposites, and so to see, and my fear with Blackest Night though is that story was predicated upon the commentary of the fandom where death doesn't matter, people can always come back, and Jeff Johns saying, all right, let's take everyone who's died over the decades and let's have death actually matter, in the sense that it is now the most prescient threat, and also exploring the concept of why do these characters come back? Is there a metatextual reason or a metaphysical reason? Is it their heroism? Is it their willpower? Is it Necron? And so for a movie universe, my biggest fear is they do it and it's like MCU Civil War, where in the comics it's like hundreds of heroes standing off, and in the movie it's like 12 of them in a tarmac. That would be my biggest fear, is there's not enough people who've died to make a giant threat.
I think it's, with you bringing up the fact that Black Hand could be in the Lantern show, this could be like the coolest Chekhov's gun, because it doesn't need to be the first arc. You can have Black Hand show up here, and then you could do let's say it's a dark side thing you want to do first, and then afterwards, because every single death, every single time someone dies, we now have that in the back of our mind, right? We now have this characters, and that builds up over time. Especially like, imagine if you have somebody like majorly powerful die, for example. Now you're like, damn, what happens when this character comes back as a zombie? Because we have that in our mind. I think that would make those deaths more impactful, because we kind of know they're going to stay dead, because we want them to be there for the eventual Blackest Night.
Blackest Night, yeah.
So I think that would be such a cool thing for us, would pick up instantly. But I think then throughout time, once we start building back up to it, I think everybody will start saying, "Oh, who's coming back?" and things like that.
So two things there. One is, if this is a long pull item, as we're deep in the speculation theory crafting about what 10 years down the line is going to look like, it could be. The other cool part about Blackest Night is there were dozens of offshoot comics where dead characters directly interacted with the people that were closest to them and just wiped the floor with them emotionally over the events that led to their deaths, which was a really crucial part of Blackest Night, was listening to somebody like Mara or someone like giving Aquaman or whoever the business. I don't remember exactly it's been forever since I've read it, but I'm going to read it again like immediately. And the other thing is this allows you to kind of do the thing that we just complained about them doing, but doing it in a more tasteful way. Instead of like 70-year-old Hugh Jackman or 90-year-old Ian McKellen walking out of a portal, you can straight up go into a brightest day thing and bring that character back to life. The white entity of light brought whoever's popping the most in the streets by then, and fans are most pissed off that they died. Like maybe they kill off the Aquaman or whoever of that universe. They bring them back with that, because that's how they brought back Aquaman. They brought back Swamp Thing, Maxwell Lord. I mean, and the white entity of light didn't just pick heroes that it brought back villains too, and it brought them back for specific reasons. So you could bring back fan favorites, people who are like, that guy killed it, why did they kill him off? Well, they killed him off because they're bringing him back, and he's going to be even worse this time, whatever it happens to be. So I think they did that right in the comics ultimately, but it took years and years of working that into their system to do it, and it would take a long time to get the emotional investment from audiences before they could pull something like that off. To Crisis's point, you can't do that in like 2 movies from now or after 2 seasons of a show. You need years to develop something like that, where audiences are like, man, I wish Oliver Queen was alive again, and then now he is. Like,
it'd be like
this guy might just be Oliver Queen as well. Like, it might be Black Hand, it might be Oliver Queen, but it is fun to speculate either way.
Yeah. We built it up so hard in our heads now that I won't accept anything else. And this brings me into my weekly threatening of James Gunn. Don't do this to me, James. Okay, listen.
What were you saying, True?
Oh, so I was going to say, doing Blackest Night, 5 movies in would be like killing Superman 3 movies into the verse. It'd be like a really strange decision. I'm happy that's not being done. So,
Wow. Should we talk about Superman since we brought it up?
Let's talk about Superman very quickly before we continue. Would just like to mention, okay, we got the Star City reference previously, but we also just got Green Arrow was directly name dropped in Peacemaker Season 1.
That's also true.
Yeah,
he's canon. He's out there.
Being a brony convention lover and a big fan of Twilight Sparkle in specific. So yeah, Green Arrow, ATROCITUS, we're in. It could just be complete falsities, and we could be peddling snake oil to you guys, but they started it. All right, so up on the screen, let's talk about Superman Day. We got a behind-the-scenes look at Superman, which is super exciting, no pun intended. We got great looks here at Hawk Girl and Metamorpho, who I think this is like the first time we really saw him fully from like not just a close-up shot of his face. I think he looks really, really good. Obviously, it's practical effects here. The Supergirl costume, I think it's a little bit more corporate, but that is for a reason. We got some information about them being the quote-unquote Justice Gang that are working for someone else. So I really dig both looks. I like the helmet for Hawk Girl. Obviously, would love to see something a little bit more comic accurate down the line, maybe when she gets out of the Justice Gang and joins something like the Justice League. But I think Metamorpho looks absolutely amazing, and the amount of practical effects, like even the robots in the Fortress of Solitude were practical as well. It's just mind-blowing how much practical they're going with, which I really appreciate. You can tell the difference in the theater when it's done really, really well. You kind of you can tell for sure.
Yeah, he looks really, really good. I assume they're gonna have like some CG effects on him as he's like walking around, but like having all the suits be practical, I think is a really nice touch. And man, it is even the browns here, right, on Hawk Girl's costume. I guess it's supposed to be gold. My eyes are bad.
Bronze,
but look,
yeah,
bronze, gold,
it's not
brown,
exactly
rock.
gold, yeah.
But even that, right, still pops out as a really nice color. That's the thing, man. I think all these costume designs wise have been pretty great, you know, except for that one AI one that we saw.
Let's not talk about that or discuss it any further.
If you know, you know.
Continuing on, we got this really interesting shot here of Lex Luthor standing next to a little creep, a little freakazoid, a little dude. Not sure what is going on there. The speculation is potential white Martian. Could be setting up some interesting. You're out on the white Martian theory. What is this? What is this little guy then? You tell us.
You don't even have.
Oh, wise Nick.
I think. Sure. I'm happy to. I don't think that they're going to introduce a white Martian before they introduce the main green Martian, which is Martian Manhunter. I think more than likely what that is something like
a golem type creature that's been following them.
No, like for a long time the rumor has been that it's Superman v Superman kind of a thing in the movie. So maybe that's like the infancy version of whatever that is. Like he's growing a Superman or something. Other than that, I'm hoping it's not a white Martian because I feel like that's just too much stuff to pack into one little package right now. Because then you got to address. Yeah. There's like now there's white Martians. I assume there's green Martians. Like comic book fans will be like, oh, that's cool, but everybody else will be like, what? What's happening?
Yeah,
I could see it being. A lot of people are speculating maybe it's Parasite, and he hasn't.
He
hasn't quite fed himself on a power source yet. I also thought there was some resemblance to Nina Mazursky from Creature Commandos. We saw her without her like suit a few times, just some weird cryptid character. But I assume he's gonna have a lot of metahumans locked up. We see Superman at one point, like sort of in like a big glass container, and I think Luthor is probably collecting them. That's probably, if I had to guess, that's something we're seeing here. It could be an alien. It could be a white Martian. It doesn't really fit the body type of a white Martian that we know from the comics or some of the animated shows. Usually they are more menacing than that. As opposed to like, just some scrawny little freak. Let's all be that's a freak. If we saw that,
I love that. I love that you guys refer to it as like a little freak.
What other word would you use for that little freak?
It's freakish.
It's
like a little goober, like a little goblin. Yeah.
Goober, goblin, freak.
All right, so let's. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say if it is a Martian, the only like connection I think Lex has to Martian stuff is the Snyder Justice League run stuff, right? Where like him and Manhunter like had a psychic connection as they were growing up. It was a pretty weird little thing, but that's a very strange thing to reference. It probably is Parasite. I think that's the easiest thing to explain. It's like some creature that eats energy, starts off tiny, and then becomes a problem later on.
I was counting its fingers. That's why I
Nick
leaned
is
in
so
real
deep
quick.
in the weeds right now. It's insane. All right.
Well, it has 5 fingers. It has 5 fingers, so it could be parasite. It could be a little
Martians
homegrown
also
little
have 5
Martian
fingers.
creep or something. I don't know.
Freak.
Martian Manhunter have
You
5
could
fingers?
say
I don't know.
You could say the F word.
Yeah.
He's a freak.
You have to call him a creep. He's a freak.
Absolute freak.
All right. So Nick brought up like Superman versus Superman stuff, and we got a better look at two characters here. One is the Hammer of Boravia, and the other is unknown masked figure that fights Superman and punches through some walls. Notably has a big U on his chest. People are speculating that this could be an Ultraman type situation, a Bizarro type situation. The Hammer of Boravia, people speculating, could it be a Lex Luthor power suit? Is it him causing ruckus and mayhem to make Superman look bad? What is it? Who is he? All these questions are being thrown out there. There's so much that we've been shown from not just Superman, but we just talked about like Green Arrow and ATROCITUS for an hour, basically. There's so much in the DCU, these breadcrumbs that we're being given, and we have no clue what's going on. It seems like so much is going to happen. It seems like we're packing 10 movies into one, and I'll be really interested to see what happens. I mean, we've talked about James Gunn a million different times being a guy that is able to balance these things on a knife's edge, the amount of characters that he's able to fit into a single film and give them all the proper spotlight, not take away from anyone too much. So we'll see what he does here. I mean, even in Guardians of the Galaxy 3, he had all of Rocket's old friends that he had to deal with in the flashbacks. He had Adam Warlock and the Sovereign. He had the villains and everybody ancillary to them, the weird organic spaceship thing that they were on, and all those guys, not to mention the Guardians themselves. Like, there are so many characters, and if we saw all of that prior to the movie and like, okay, all these characters are going to be in, they're all going to have some significant thing to do in the film, you'd be like, this is way too much, it'll never happen. But he was able to do it like basically perfectly, from the beginning to the end. There were some characters that got more, some that got less. That's just natural way of things, but it seems like a ton. What are you guys' thoughts on Ultra Shiesty Man and the Hammer of Boravia?
I think that the interesting element of both of these, I'm not sure if you have them back up on the screen yet because there's a little delay here, but one of the things that's most interesting about these two characters is they're both completely masked.
Yeah.
Which indicates to me that if they weren't masked, then they would be someone new. But usually when you put a mask on somebody and that's the only promotional stuff that you have for them, it's because you're hiding something from the audience, which is why I still think that Ultraman, that you character is either an Ultraman or a Bizarro or a little freak, from earlier. And as you mentioned earlier, that Hammer of Bavarian ice cream or whatever you mentioned, that looks an awful lot like Lex Luthor's power armor. I would not be surprised at all if underneath that dome was him just being a dick around the planet to make things harder for Superman. I think those are both excellent theories and probably the most logical ones, because if not, why do they have masks on? Why can't we know a little bit about who's underneath them and who's playing them? We don't know them, right? So it leads me to believe that they're already somebody we know. And the Ultraman face mask looks a lot like Doomsday's containment suit.
Yeah, that's
other
true.
than that, but I don't think it's going to be Doomsday.
Looks a lot like Spider-Man's homemade suit in Spider-Man Homecoming. Could be him. Tom Holland could be under there.
You heard it here first. He jumped ship, Tom Holland.
I mean, everyone thinks it's going to be Ultraman and Lex, but let me throw in a different theory.
Let him cook.
What if it's actually on the right? It's actually the upside down man, which is why he has the U, right? And on the left, that star icon does look like the Starbreakers, which are the villains of the Green Lanterns. So maybe maybe we're going a little bit wider here than just Lex and Ultraman.
And it all comes back to the Green Lanterns. Drew cannot get off of the Green Lanterns. He's so excited for this TV show, and to be honest, I don't blame him.
No, that's all we need.
I could see the the Hammer of Baravia or whatever be Lex, and he's kind of playing both sides. I think that it's going to be Superman will create a debate on should you intervene in these complex situations if all you're doing is trying to help people. Like there'll be some other war-torn country. Lex is probably going to be playing both sides of the conflict to accrue profit or control, and so I could easily see him. Superman goes to save these people in this other country, and then Luthor gets in a power suit and says, "Oh well, you saved these people, but you hurt me and my family," and so he gets in a suit, and by the end of it, he'll have painted it green and purple once he drops the facade.
What if they go the route that they went with Luthor in? This is kind of just spinning off of your theory because you made my brain start ticking. Luthor was the central character in Forever Evil, where the whole premise was all the villains are now the good guys, and they're the ones that were standing up to the crime syndicate, which was basically a mirror. If you're not familiar with them, the crime syndicate is basically the Earth 3 Justice League, except they're all evil. Yeah. So they have Ultraman and Power Woman and the rest of them. Owlman, yeah. And but what if Luthor is acting as a hero in this role to kind of prove that they don't need superhumans? Like superhumans should not be like allowed to operate, because that's kind of always been his big thing, is he doesn't want Superman to get all the glory for saving the planet, which is something they should be doing themselves.
And that's
why the Goku problem.
His whole squad is like all armored up as well. Could be this is the military police force of the future type deal. Yeah, I could see that.
I hope Ultraman is not Bizarro, because it just seems too obvious. Like he's gonna get the mask off and he's gonna be David Cornsweat with like
a beard,
gray skin. Yeah, or
he used to be a little freak that grew into a big freak, and it's happening. And that's so don't get mad, because that's what's gonna happen. I
don't want it to be Bizarro. I don't want it to be some Doomsday-esque. Like Luthor made a Kryptonian clone monster the last time we saw him in live action. I don't need to see it again. I don't want to be reminded of that ever again.
In New 52, the Bizarro Superman was B0, was a clone that he created of Superman from his DNA. So that's what the little freak is. I'm telling you.
Could be.
It grows into a big freak.
I really hope not, bro, because
it's Superboy this whole time. Now Nick is excited.
He'll have snuck a little Luthor DNA in the
Super freak.
Wait a minute, hold up. That might be the best case scenario.
You like that?
I feel like I Connor Kent showing up. I'm not. Who here doesn't like that? I feel like
we're all here for it. I agree.
Yeah.
That would be cool. I mean, I wouldn't hate it for sure. I think they'd have to switch it up a little bit, especially if he was being used in this context. But yeah, that would be sick. All right, let's quickly talk about all the merch. Let's talk about some merch. I got up on the screen for you some choice action figures from McFarlane, as well as the Superman statue there in the middle. I know Nick went ahead and pre-ordered everything that was available for pre-order. I went ahead and punched my ticket for that statue. I've been collecting the DC movie statues since they've been making them, and I believe McFarlane started with this specific line with the Batman. So I have the Batman behind me in the black and red, like Walmart exclusive, the gold exclusive. I got the Riddler. I got Black Manta, Blue Beetle, and I also have Black Adam. Which will probably be replaced on the shelf very shortly. But I really like the statues that they have. Previously they all had like rubber or plastic capes, but this one is going to have like a cloth one with wiring in it so you can pose it. But they look super cool. True Crisis, you locked into these, or you gonna be getting them? Is there any specific merch you saw revealed on Superman Day that you're super excited for that maybe is not the McFarlane figures? Maybe you're gonna get a mug or a little crypto plushie or something else, Halloween costume.
her little freak fanny pack.
If
freak
I
pack.
see one of the if I see a McFarlane Superman in the store, I'll probably buy it because I don't have a Superman figure yet, and I've been every time I go to the store, I look. I drag my girlfriend painfully into the toy section, and I have to glance, but I haven't seen a good Superman yet. So yeah, if
You're
I
not
see
looking in
this,
the right places because I got at least 20 of them, buddy.
you send new Superman in the group chat every day, but
For
yeah,
those
no,
of you who don't know, I
I
have a massive action figure
They can see
collection.
it. They know.
you
Yeah,
see
they
right
can
there.
see.
They know.
I have five cases or 4 cases full. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. That's my thing. I've collected figures since I was a kid. Then I got, as I got older, I got out of it. But then I got back in when around the time right before I got married. My wife actually bought me a 2-pack of Green Lantern and Sinestro, who was also a Green Lantern, and that was the first comic book figures that I had gotten since I was, a young kid, probably like 12, 13 years old. And after that, I was like, well, get a couple more Green Lantern figures. There's more. And then that just spiraled out of control. And now she regrets every day that she bought me
Yeah,
anything.
you got the wife approval, which means, well, you said it was okay, so now I'm going to take up an entire wall in our basement for over 500 figures, and that you're just gonna have to deal with it. Here, I have the Riddler here. I brought him up to the camera. I'm a really big fan of these statues. They're like super high quality. I don't know about the face mold though, because Riddler, I mean, his face is covered. I guess I could get the Rock, but I think Superman's face, maybe from the pictures, doesn't look 100% the best in the statue, but I'm hoping maybe it looks better in person. But that's the only thing I got. True, are you gonna lock into anything, or you're?
I want to get the Superman statue.
Mhm.
Saying that, I'll probably just get it sometime this week. Actually, I don't know.
I
why.
pre-ordered it. Best Buy is gonna have it delivered the day the movie or the day it drops, so we'll be in there.
Yeah, I'll have to see what my local places. My local places tend to have them, my comic stores. But when you said we were going to start talking about merch, I really thought you meant the DCU Experience merch, and I was,
Oh
I
snap!
was like, wait a minute, we have action figures since when?
We got
Yeah.
freakazoid fanny packs. They're coming soon.
I was
Tune
very
in.
confused.
Tune in. The longer the podcast goes, it's just
Yeah.
more opportunities for catchphrases, slogans, and potential T-shirts. So as long as we're here, maybe you'll get a little freak shirt. Maybe we'll make some freak shirts. But last thing
It'll read I am a freak with an image of the little guy doing, some sort of gesture.
Yeah.
Anybody want to
It would
freak with me?
Yeah,
Question
Want to
mark.
be a freak?
And it to be that like small picture. It won't even be a blown up image.
Freaks only.
The same highly pixelated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no more shout out to Natalie Portman. We might get in trouble if we did that anyway, but let's take a look at the Supergirl logo. Oh my gosh, here we have it, the Supergirl logo in all its glory. Gotta say, big fan. Big fan. Love the color scheme. I love the blue in there instead of the traditional yellow. Just separates itself a little bit from Superman, which I think is cool. Yeah, it just looks very retro to me. I don't know if it's giving like 80s, 90s comics to me a bit. I'm a big fan of it. How do you guys feel about the Supergirl logo?
I
Looks
prefer
great.
the color scheme. Yeah, it's distinct. It does look old school. But yeah, it's a cool logo.
You love the red, blue, and yellow color scheme?
Well,
That is Superman and
okay.
Supergirl's.
okay, let me be more specific.
What shocking hot take from True. He likes Superman's colors.
No, what I meant was specifically the red and the blue in the logo. I'm
Yeah.
not the biggest fan of yellow anymore.
The layout of it specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just distinct. It's a cool logo.
Yeah,
It
I
is
like
kinda
that it's
interesting.
different.
It is kind of interesting that Superman's chest logo on his suit in the DCU is red and gold, and hers is more reminiscent of like the Kingdom Come logo. It's red and blue. So maybe there's a bit of a differentiator there, which is cool for her costume, which I think we've only seen little snippets of here and there in potentially set photos or AI slop, depending upon where it came from. But
yeah.
But yeah, I think that you want to differentiate them a little bit, but you want that to feel the same. And in terms of logos, I'm cool. I'm happy. I'm fine with it. I'd love to see the suit first. You know, I don't care that much about a
We
logo.
have
But
seen her suit, I was gonna say, and I don't think this is the logo on her chest. I think this is just a promo,
have
like
we
some
seen
sort
the
of
suit, like the
branding.
official first look at the suit?
Not an official, but we have seen an unofficial first look at the suit
It's
in
AI, bro. You
motion.
can't trust it. Can't trust it.
Nah, that one's real, bro.
I
Me
think that the
and Garrick are
Supergirl
in the
ones are real.
weeds.
Yeah.
Me and Garrick are in the weeds with AI imagery, bro. We are masters, so we can tell the difference.
I can
But no,
spot AI from a mile away.
yeah,
I'm
I
looking
think
on Twitter.
It seemed
Yeah,
it though. I mean, it came with video as well. I guess
Yeah.
that doesn't mean anything, but I think I trust those. Not that we were looking at them, James, at all, and we would never do that or condone that, and no one should ever go look
No.
at set photos. It's disgusting. We should wait months and months and months and months and way longer than we should to get an official photo of the thing.
and we
even
should
though-
be on our knees thanking you just
Yeah.
for the logo on the back of the chair.
Yeah,
we should be.
we're drooling
Thank you
over
so
that. Like,
much.
you have the suit. You probably have photos right now. You could just post it, but maybe that
Yep.
takes away from Superman. I don't think it would, but maybe it does. People are like,
We're gonna
Supergirl.
see her. We're gonna see her in that film anyway. You know it's coming.
Yeah, she's
We probably
gonna be
already
in
have
it.
seen
we
her.
we know that Crypto is her dog, so she's gonna drop Crypto
Yeah.
off to get babysat by Superman. So I'm sure she'll like fly in and be like, "Here's my dog. He doesn't need to eat. He just eats sunlight like us. So we're chilling."
He's gonna collapse your lung when you're.
You do have to
badly
take him on a
beaten.
walk around the solar system, but that should be fine
in a
for a
while,
guy like
yeah.
you, a different kind of beast like yourself, Superman. I'll be interested to see what their relationship is like, though, Supergirl and Superman. I'm really pumped for
That
that.
would be.
Yeah.
Also, the suit kind of just looks like the one from the King story,
Mhm.
right? Which they're using, so it's not unexpected.
Yeah. All right. We've crushed it. I think that's another successful episode in the books. I mean, we're a little bit
For
over
sure.
time, but I had a good time. I'd like to say thank you to Garrett Dillahan for just dropping that bombshell right before we went live. Really, really great of you to do that for us, as well as the potential ATROCITUS news. We could have yapped about Superman and Superman Day for an hour, but I think maybe it would have been stretching it a bit. Instead, we got to talk about Green Arrow. We got to talk about Oliver Queen, the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, the goatee, the hat, the hood, everything, the boxing glove arrow.
The heroin.
With a heroin. We got all of the topics in
All the best
today.
part.
And Nick was able to come up with some crazy theories, and we talked about potential Justice League movies, as we always seem to do every single week. But what if it's leading up to this in 10 years type beat, which is always fun. But thank you, everybody, for joining us in the DCU Experience yet again for episode number 11. That's crazy. We've done 11 straight weeks without missing, guys. We're nuts. We're so consistent, and we really appreciate everybody being here through that rock solid consistency. And we are going to get these episodes up on Spotify. Maybe not the last episode, or maybe I should. I mean, it was a great episode. Episode 10
They all are.
I think was really, really good. Maybe our best episode. But we had those audio issues. It's fine. I'll upload them both. But those will be up soon. Thank you to Nick, Crisis, and True, as always, for being here in the DCU Experience. We will be back next week for week number 12 in a row, which we never miss. We never miss. We're always here. So
And it'll definitely be next week.
It'll definitely 100% be next week, without a doubt. Thank you, everybody, for joining. We will see you next time.
Peace.